Hey guys, welcome to another Thursday edition of the Vinyl Den, your channel about record collecting by record collectors. My name is Nick, and as you can see, I'm here all by myself. It's another Thursday solo edition, and this week I'm going to be talking about something that's kind of near and dear to me, that is the music of Pink Floyd. So if you enjoy the Sunday shows with Ian and I, come back and check out the show on Sunday at noon. We're going to be talking about our top 5 albums, so it should be a good time. Come check that out, okay? Like I said, I'm a big fan of Pink Floyd. When I was younger, I kind of call myself more of a casual fan. When I was younger, I knew some songs off Dark Side of the Moon, some songs off The Wall, but that's kind of the limits of my Pink Floyd listening. And it wasn't until I was older that I kind of started expanding and listening to more of their catalog. And when I got back into collecting vinyl a couple of years ago, getting the Pink Floyd catalog was something that was kind of a priority to me. And I originally kind of started out with just the main 4 albums: Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, Animals, and The Wall. And it kind of expanded past that. And I now I'm to the point where I've got all the remastered editions that came out, and I think it was 2016 all those came out. So I've got all those, and then after that I kind of started spreading out and kind of getting to the point where I was kind of collecting some stuff. And I don't have anything that's like super rare, but I'll kind of go over some of the stuff I do have. Before I get into the albums, though, if you don't know, Ian and I do have a podcast that we also do. It's called the Life in General podcast. And if you're a big fan of Pink Floyd, you should go back and check out. We did an episode in early to mid-February this year. I think it was February 15th or 16th when it came out. It's a whole almost 2-hour deep dive into the music of Pink Floyd. We go into detail about every album. We also kind of look at the interpersonal relationships that created that music. A lot of the early stuff with Syd Barrett and his departure from the band, all the way through the lawsuits in the 80s and what the members have been doing post Pink Floyd. So it's a really interesting episode. We had a lot of fun recording it. At least I did. Ian's not a huge Pink Floyd fan, so I kind of talked for most of the episode, but it was a lot of fun doing, and I'll put a link in down below. Go ahead and check that out. It's called The Music of Pink Floyd. So the first album I got, I'll show you. It's nothing like super rare, like I said, but so in 1995, Pink Floyd, so this is the year, so Division Bell came out, and I think it was 94. So the next year, 95, Pink Floyd released 2 tracks. At that time, it was the earliest commercially available tracks from Pink Floyd. It was London, 1966, 1967. And it's only got 2 tracks on. It's got Interstellar Overdrive and Nick's Boogie on. Nick's Boogie was a unreleased track at this time. But like I said, these were the earliest commercially available tracks when they were released in 95. Since then, Pink Floyd's released the early years box set. It's got some earlier stuff than this available, but both great tracks. I didn't even know this existed for a while. And then I think it was early last year, I stumbled across on Discogs, and it was a little more than I really wanted to pay for. I mean, it wasn't a whole lot, but I ended up finding it for a great deal on Amazon, which, I'm not a big fan of buying albums off of Amazon, just because I try to support my local record stores as much as I can. But it was one of those things where, it was just Amazon was, $15-20 cheaper than just about everywhere else. So I ended up scooping that up. But it sounds great. It's early Pink Floyd, and if you're not a fan of that sound from their first 2 albums, Piper at the Gates of Dawn and Saucer Full of Secrets, you won't be a huge fan of that, but it's definitely something cool to kind of toss on and listen to a little bit. Speaking of those 2 albums, though, the next one I was going to show you, it's from 1973. It's called A Nice Pair. And it's kind of an interesting package because this was released 9 months after Dark Side of the Moon. So Dark Side of the Moon was released in March. This was released in December of 73. And I don't know if it was a decision on the record from the record company or the band or a combination of the two, but it was definitely trying to cash in on some of the popularity of Dark Side of the Moon with their first 2 albums. So this is a two album set. It's got Piper at the Gates of Dawn and Saucer Full of Secrets in it. And the kind of cool thing is I don't know if people really know this or not, but the 9 pictures on here are some of the pictures that were concepts for Pink Floyd albums. So it's kind of cool to think of it that way. And Hypnosis did a lot of the Pink Floyd. I think everything from Saucer Full of Secrets. I don't think they were involved with Piper at the Gates of Dawn, but definitely Saucer Full all the way through. I think they did it all the way up through. And I think Animals was the last one that they worked on. The Wall was a different company, but so this is all stuff that Hypnosis had been working on through the years up to '73. So definitely kind of cool. The interesting thing about this is it has different track listings from the U.S. pressing to the U.K. pressing. This is a U.S. pressing, and that, like I said, slightly different tracks. And this has, I think it's Interstellar Overdrive. It's not the Piper that Gates of Dawn version that's on this. It's actually the live version from Ummagumma. So that's kind of interesting. It's something you don't see a whole lot. I mean, and typically when you do, they're not in great condition. The spine on this is a little tore up, but I got it for a pretty decent price. So next one I was going to show you, it's one of my favorite albums, and I think it's something that's probably the most underrated album of Pink Floyd's catalog, and that's Metal. A lot of people know, obviously, those big 4 albums from 73 through 79. But Metal was an album that was released in 71. It did pretty well commercially, but it's one that always, I knew the album cover, but I hadn't really listened to the album until a couple years ago. And it's one of my favorite albums of theirs now. And the thing I always found really interesting was I didn't really know what the cover was. It's kind of an abstract. I didn't know if it was some kind of Loch Ness monster kind of creature or what it was. And then, a couple years ago, I don't even think I did it intentionally. I realized if we turn it sideways, it's an ear. It's an ear underwater. I think it was the circles on here that kind of always threw me off. I'm not really sure, but definitely kind of cool. This is the 2016 remaster. It's a easier picture to see. That's why I wanted to show you that. But I do have 2 original pressings of this, and I thought it was kind of interesting because this was, like I said, it was 71, so it's kind of early, really early 70s. And I'm not sure other bands were really doing this at the time, but the pressings had different covers, so it adds a little more collectability to it. So I showed you the 2016. It's got a nice, vibrant, bright cover on it. So this is an original pressing. This is an original U.S. pressing, and as you can see, it's a lot darker, almost like the figure on it's more of a shadow than anything. And then when you look at the UK pressing, it's a little bit more it's a closer to that 2016 kind of cover, but it's a dollar picture. It's there's really no. I can't really tell much of a sound difference between the pressings. I guess if you had like a high-end stereo system, you might be able to hear it. But I had those. I bought those just because, just for the collectability, just for the different album covers. So Dark Side of the Moon has been one of my favorite albums for, quite a while now. At least I'd say the last 4 or 5 years. It's just a fantastic album. And it's one that I probably have too many copies of, to be completely honest. I was buying quite a few of them last year, and it was kind of funny. I'd go to work one day and I'd get a text or a call from my wife, and she'd say, "Hey, another one of those album covers with the triangle on the cover showed up again for you." But because I think it's probably when I started rebuying albums a couple years back, I think Dark Side was probably I'm sure it was the first Pink Floyd album that I bought. And I bought the original pressing. I'm sorry, I bought the 2016 pressing. And then it was after that, I was like, hey, you know what? I started getting into, like I said earlier, I completed the 2016 remasters, and that's when I kind of started going back and saying, look, I want to get some different copies or different versions of these albums, because they're, especially Dark Side of the Moon, there's definitely different ones out there. But I've got this is a 30th anniversary. Sound wise, it doesn't really sound a whole lot different. It does. I think anything from at least the 2000 from 2000 on, I think is going to have pretty much the same kind of similar sound to it, especially these. But this is the 30th anniversary. The funny thing is about this, I bought this off of Discogs, and I didn't really ask. I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't ask about the condition of the cover, because this actually the 30th anniversary came with an insert that goes in the front of it. It's a 30th anniversary insert. So I got this and opened it up, and I was like, well, I guess I'm going to have to buy another copy of that. So the 30th anniversary insert actually looks like this. So this is the second one I bought. So I've got two copies of the 30th. But yeah, it's kind of a cool different cover to it. It's just an insert that was inside the shrink wrap on the album. So I'm sure when people bought it, it was 2000, mid 2000s or early 2000s. So they just opened it up and kind of threw it away and was done with it. But kind of cool addition to the collection. I also have a 40th anniversary. So this is the 40th anniversary edition. It's it's a 180 gram vinyl. And I did the same thing. I think I bought the 30th and the 40th anniversary editions about the same time. And I didn't ask about the sleeve, because I'll put a picture up on the screen of what the 40th anniversary sleeve actually looks like. It's an insert that goes in the front. Same thing, like pretty similar to the 30th, but kind of cool. I haven't gotten around to buying another 40th anniversary. They typically go for 100, 125, depending on the condition and where you get it from. Off of Discogs. I try not to buy stuff off of eBay. Actually, I think I bought one of those. I bought one of those off of eBay. I think might have been the second 30th anniversary, the one with the actual real insert. Because I guess on Discogs you got stock photos, so a lot of times you just buy them and not really think about it. At least with eBay, there's a picture of the album on there, so I knew the insert was included. This is one that I really kind of cherish. This is an original U.S. pressing of Dark Side of the Moon. Originally I was looking for a UK pressing, but those typically run a little bit more than I'm really willing to pay for an album I own, 4 or 5 times already. So, but definitely kind of cool to throw this on, kind of sit back and think of, the 40 plus years of people listening to this album. It's kind of cool. But yeah, I was definitely glad to grab that original pressing. After Dark Side of the Moon was released, Wish You Were Here was their next album, and it really built upon that popularity that they had. And I was able to. It was kind of funny. Originally, when I bought the 2016 remastered edition of Dark Side of the Moon, I also picked up a great original pressing of Wish You Were Here the same day. And after the fact, it was probably a month or two later, I started thinking, well, if I'm going to have the remastered edition of Dark Side of the Moon, I should probably get the other remastered edition of Wish You Were Here also. So not too long after that, I found a great used copy of the remastered edition of this. So I took my original pressing of Wish You Were Here and gave it to Ian. And then after the fact, I was like, well, damn, I probably should have kept that if I'm going to go back and buy original pressings. So so I went back. I did end up finding a good used copy of Wish You Were Here. The funny thing is about this is it's originally came in a black sleeve with a kind of a Pink Floyd logo on the front of it. And when you find used copies, they're never going to have that sleeve on it. I'm sure it was something that was probably thrown away and discarded, and no one ever really thought much of it. But I've seen, lots of different copies of Wish You Were Here out in the record stores, at record shows, and I don't think I've ever seen one with that black sleeve on it. So it'd be nice to find one, but I've already got that, so it's nothing too really important. Animals was another album that I think I'd casually heard some songs off of it, and but I never really paid much attention to it. But it's it's just one of those albums that's just it's fantastic from start to end. Not a bad second on that album, and it was one that it's kind of cool. This is the original U.S. pressing, and it's got this like, I don't know if it's meant to or if it just because the age of the album, but it's because this came out in '77, but it's almost got like a muted, more industrialized look to the album cover. The 2016 album's got a brighter cover to it. Not sure if it was, like I said, if it was done intentionally or not, but I feel it's got a completely different look and feel because it's got that like more aged look to it. But it's definitely a fantastic album. This is one that I would love to have. There's a rarer version of this. It's a French pressing and it's pink. But the problem is it's super expensive and it's really hard to find and it's super rare. I think the only one I've ever seen on Discogs sold for several $100s. So probably something I'll never own. But the original U.S. pressing was definitely one that was close enough to that. The Wall was another album that I listened to from the time I was younger. I had a friend that was a fan of the movie. In my probably early to mid teens, I watched the movie several times at his house. And I think it was the first time I was really introduced to the album. And it was really after that I started listening to it. Comfortably Numb has always been one of my favorite Pink Floyd songs. Um, and it's for a long time I really felt that while The Wall was a good album, it was a little overrated. And I think it wasn't until I was older and I kind of understood the story and the meaning behind what Roger Waters was trying to put through in the music that I really found it the meaning behind it all, and it's just a fantastic album. Um, this is another album that I own probably a couple more copies than I probably should, more so out of my own stupidity than anything. But this is the first one I got. This is an '82 pressing, and I bought it from a local record store. I thought it was actually when I first picked it up, I thought it was I knew it was an early pressing. I didn't know how early it was. Got home and checked. I guess I could have checked in the store, but it was an '82. But it sounds fantastic. It really does. So I'm like, well, I it was an original pressing, so I was like, I want to get an original. And actually, originally, I wanted to get original UK pressing. That's always kind of what I look for first. Those tend to run a little more than I'm wanting to spend. So I came across this in the store. I knew there was a 79, but this is actually an original pressing from Canada, which is interesting because I didn't know they even pressed this in Canada. It sounds great, fantastic. I'm like, hey, it's just another one I get to add to the collection, And then a couple of weeks after I actually picked that up, I was at the same store and I saw this sitting on the shelf. And it kind of caught my eye at first because it has the sticker on the front of it, which is something you don't see very often. This sticker only came from U.S. pressings, and it was on the shrink wrap on the outside of the album. So most of the time, that's why you almost always see them like this with nothing on the front of it. So what this person did, and you can actually you can't see it on the camera, but you can actually see part of the pricing sticker that was on the shrink wrap of the album. So they pulled the sticker off and actually put it on there. So it's kind of cool. It's something I hadn't seen. But this is an original U.S. pressing, and like I said, it was really that sticker that stood out to me. The next time I want to talk about it was something that was released in the '90s. I'm not sure if it was originally pressed on vinyl or not, but I remember the CD case, and it's talking about Pulse. And for any kids out there that don't remember or weren't alive in the '90s or early '90s, this thing came with the album, not the album, but the CD came with a blinking red light on the side of it. And it was always kind of funny because you could always see them on the shelf just blinking away. And the batteries were replaceable in them, and you can actually still find some of those. They're not very. It's probably been a good 6 or 8 months since I've seen one in any of the shops I go to, but you can still find those CD cases every once in a while, and they're kind of cool. But I was really happy to find this because this typically when I got it, it went for around $100. I think it's probably gone up a little bit in price now, but I actually found a guy on eBay. Like I said earlier, I'm not a big fan of buying stuff on eBay, but I got a guy that was selling this. I want to say I paid $65 for it. when it was going for $100 on Amazon. I mean, not on Amazon, but on Discogs. So it's a great price. And Pulse is one of those things that's, I'm not a huge fan of live albums, but Pulse is one that's definitely one of my favorites. So the next one's kind of rare. It's something that you don't see very often. It was released for the band's 40th anniversary. And it's a CD box set called "Oh By the Way," which is a line from the song "Have a Cigar" off of "Wish You Were Here." And what's kind of cool about this, and there's several different. I think there's a Discovery box set. There's a couple of different other ones, but the one that kind of sets this one apart from the others is the fact that the CD sleeves are exact replicas of the vinyl albums. Oops. The CDs actually even come in little vinyl sleeves. This one's actually in my car. I was listening to this the other day, but yeah, those are definitely kind of cool. It runs from Piper That Gates of Dawn all the way through Division Bell, because obviously they hadn't released Endless River at that point. But yeah, it was definitely kind of cool. And the thing is about "Oh By the Way," this box set, is most of the copies you find online are counterfeit. And so when I bought this one off of Discogs, I asked the seller some very specific questions about the different writing and spelling of different certain things. And there's some writing on the bottom of the box I think is slightly different on the counterfeit versions. So a lot of the ones you're going to see online are going to be counterfeit, but I was definitely happy to pick up an original of that. The last thing I was kind of talk about, I guess they kind of go hand in hand, and that is this. I think it was last year, 2019. They released the Later Years box set, and it's a CD box set. It's got DVDs. I think it does have 2 7-inch in there. It's got a "See Emily Play" that the band performed at Syd Barrett's funeral in 2007. And I think there's one other 7-inch in there, but so that's a mainly CD kind of thing. So what they did was they released this vinyl kind of companion. It's just a best of that box set, and I was really interested to listen to the stuff from Nebworth, which is just a fantastic concert. And when the day I bought this, I waited until I had it and I could listen to it on vinyl before I streamed it. And I mean, it's just a fantastic album. I listened to this probably 3 times that first day, but it's definitely something that since I bought that, it's probably one of my most played albums I have. But it kind of goes hand in hand with this monster, which my wife spoiled me last year and bought me this for Christmas. This is a box set of everything that the band did after Roger Waters left the band. So this is Momentary Lapse of Reason all the way through Endless River. It's got a lot of concert footage in there, some really great stuff. Comes with a fantastic booklet also, a bunch of other stuff in there, but it was definitely a cool box set. Had I had a YouTube channel at the time, I probably would have done an unboxing of it, but there's just a ton of different stuff in there. But really cool to have to add to the collection. Hey guys, thanks for coming and checking the show out today. Thanks for checking out my Pink Floyd collection. It's something that's going to continue to grow over the years, so I'm sure I'll probably do more episodes on it. It's Pink Floyd is one of those bands that, depending on which day it is, they're definitely in my top 3 for sure, but they interchange between 1, 2, and 3. It's Pink Floyd, Blink-182, and MXPX, some combination of those 3. They're definitely in my top 3 bands, and it's something that I'm sure my collection, like I said, my collection is going to keep on growing. There's a translucent blue Division Bell that came out last year that I'd love to get my hands on. And there's some other stuff too. There's some really rare 7-inch 45s from the 60s I'd like to find, and a bunch of other stuff. But definitely come back and check out the show on Sunday. Like I said, we're releasing a new show every Sunday. Hopefully we keep doing these Thursday shows. They're kind of fun to do, and something different. But give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel down below. Like I said, check out that link to the Music of Pink Floyd podcast that Ian and I did a couple months back. And that's about it. All right, until next time, peace, guys.